What's up, folks? If you're listening to this on audio, make sure you don't fast forward through this because this is not an advertisement. This is me letting you know at the end of this episode, I've got a great interview. I got an interview with Colby Corino, son of ECW legend Steve Corino, former ECW champion, former National Wrestling Alliance champion. Colby's a future champion. He's one of the best hands we have over at Ctalyst Wrestling, which, as you know, I work at. He's incredibly talented, just did a WWE tryout. He was on the Circle Squared over at the NWA. It's only a matter of time before this kid blows up. He's a hell of a worker. I've never seen anybody more well-liked by his peers. He's 24 years old and has 20 years experience wrestling. Very talented guy, very good at what he does. I really enjoyed the conversation. It's a quick half-hour interview. We talk about his experience with death matches, his experience starting wrestling at 5 years old. He's got all sorts of good stories. A quick little interview there, but you can also follow Colby at Colby Corino on Twitter, at Colby.Corino on Instagram. He's got a Pro Wrestling Tees shirt. But yeah, just stay tuned after this episode of the show if you're listening to this on audio. If you're watching on YouTube, I mean, it's coming right up. It's right here. It's right here for you. It's going to just start right after this intro. You know what? I'm very lazy, and I don't like making two intros, YouTube. That's the whole thing. So if you're on YouTube, it's just going to start. That's how that goes. Sorry. You follow me at Chris from BKLYN. Go rate Notes of a Goon somewhere on iTunes or wherever you rate things. Just click, clickety, click. You're clicking anyway. I know you're clicking things. Click on that. All right. Into the show. Guys, I'm here talking to Colby Corino, somebody I've known for about a year, loosely. Worked together over at Ctalyst Wrestling. I'm happy to talk to you. I've been a fan of your work since I started seeing you over there, and thanks for doing the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. I mean, I could tell. Like, it's a weird thing, man. It's like I know you got a lot of stuff going on in the last couple of months, but I knew you had like a great work ethic because I've said that GCW show, the Homicide anniversary show. Mm-hmm. And everybody kind of was like, we don't want to do the after show. And you were just like, nah, fuck that. Let's do this no ring match with the Young, Dumb, and Broke Kids. And you tore down the house. It was one of the most entertaining matches of the whole night.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I want to talk to you just before we get into like some of your older stuff. I was a big fan of the NWA resurgence recently. And I know your dad, Steve Corino, if anybody doesn't know, former ECW champion, was an NWA champion. And you had the shot on the Circle Squared they had this like reality show for there. I watched your episode. You had wrestled one of your trainers, right? George South. And I was just curious, like what you thought. And I know you had been on Ring of Honor before that. So it's not like it was the biggest platform you were ever on, but it was the first time you're there, like as your own dude without being brought by people. And I was wondering like what you thought about that and like kind of how it felt when everything kind of got the push kind of stopped because of COVID and everything.
It was so cool to be there. Like the NWA studio, like they filmed in this actual TV studio in Atlanta. Like they had like news shooting the next door and like some Judge Judy type program on the studio down the hall. So it was like it was real weird. It was very professional. I wasn't in an environment like that before. Like all the other like TV wrestling shows I was on was just like actual wrestling shows, but this felt more like TV. Mm-hmm. But I had a great experience there. Too bad for again shut down. But
I mean, were you looking forward to seeing where it went? Because like honestly, when I turned on the first episode and I saw you on there, just like knowing the pedigree, like I said, is like it seemed like you were the favorite to win the thing. You know what I mean? At least the singles part of it. Like, was there anything you were really looking forward to doing while you were there? Like, had it gone further?
Oh, I was definitely looking forward to be brought back, but who knows? Maybe it's not over yet.
Oh, yeah, maybe you know something I don't know.
Maybe I don't know.
Oh, I mean, look, anything is fair, but I do want to tell you, I was actually just talking to obviously our mutual friend Ash Samuels, and he told me you had your first match at 5 years old.
I think my first match was actually 4 years old. I was in a tag match with my dad against Don Montoya and I think Reckless Youth.
Okay. Now, it's a weird thing. Is like, did you ever not want to be a wrestler if you're starting off? Because you're 24, 25?
I'm 24, yeah.
So you've got 20 years experience at something at 20 years old, at 24 years old. It's a unique thing. Was there ever a moment you were just kind of like, I could do something else, maybe? You know?
There's a few week period where I wanted to be a Power Ranger for a little bit, but besides that, I just want to be a wrestler.
Yeah. Well, you already had the choreography down for the Power Ranger hit. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I figured it was the next best thing.
Yeah. So there's never been a wavering moment in 20 years. This has got to be an interesting thing, right? Because you're such a younger dude, but you've got more experience than a lot of the guys that are coming in that probably, like, if somebody doesn't know who you are and they're somewhere, right? You just, because you're a young guy, do you ever have that kind of pushback from any of the guys in any locker rooms?
Not really. Most of the guys I interact with are pretty respectful and like just treat me just like anyone else.
I'll tell you this one thing I like about working with the wrestling show is just everybody is so, like, just working with comedians, they're the worst. You know what I mean? Nobody says hello to anybody. And like the fact that it is expected for everybody to introduce themselves to each other in a wrestling show is something that I really love about that business. You know what I mean? Like, it makes everybody kind of on the same level right from the beginning.
Oh yeah, we're all really tight. I feel like wrestling's just one big family.
Yeah, it's great. It's a fun time. We should talk about really quickly. I just watched your 205 live match. It was a test match. You had a tryout recently with WWE. How did that go? How did it come about? How did it feel in the era of COVID? And are you trying out for your dad? Because he's a trainer there, right?
Yeah, it was surreal. It feels weird because like COVID's like changing everything. We gotta get all these tests, and there was only like a quarter of this amount of people there. But I thought it had a lot of fun there. It was great to interact with all the trainers, and yes, I did have to perform for my dad.
Yeah, I mean, but he's got it. He knows it. I mean, was it? I always think about like one of those old school football movies with the aggressive dad. Was it like that at all, or no?
No, he's actually like the super nice coach. He's always like the good cop.
So he was Rick Moranis in the movie Little Giants.
I've never seen Little Giants.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm 12 years older than you. That's but so I mean, like, but this is a weird thing, right? Because what is it? Because I'm sure I know you've done some shows for no people because of what's going on here now, but it's got to be weird to be in like an arena in a Thunderdome. You know what I mean? When what they're calling a Thunderdome with all those like screens watching you and the fake crowd noise and all that. Was there anything that you took away from there?
It was weird, but like in a good way. Like I'm so used to like wrestling in front of no one at this point because I train 3 times a week at the training school that's 10 minutes from my house. So I'm pretty used to wrestling in front of nobody. And plus, like, I've been on shows where there could be fans and there's still nobody. So I'm pretty comfortable with the whole idea. But like being in this huge arena surrounded by computer screens, it was different.
Yeah.
Like they pumped in like 2K noise to like, I guess, make it realer for us and like get us in the mood. But
did that throw you off at all? No. It'd be weird if it was like rigged to the ring almost. You know what I mean? Like if they could figure out a way where as you fell, it just triggered something, but it's just a guy in a truck hitting noises at different times.
Yeah, I think they just have a soundboard or something, and they just hit the buttons for different crowds' reactions when something happens. That's what I think, at least. I'm not very educated about it.
Yeah. Well, I know. I'm just curious what it felt like, because I mean, it's one thing to do something in a gym, which you're used to. You know what I mean? Like that's where you train, that's where you learn. But there's got to be something. I mean, was that the biggest arena you had been in? No, you've been in the Tokyo Dome before, right?
No, I've been to Cork and Hall, but
okay.
It was one of the biggest. I've been into like a few Raw and SmackDown arenas, but I think they actually had people in them, so they didn't feel as large. Like
that's what I mean. Is like it might throw somebody. I could see it throwing you off to be performing to nobody in a giant room.
There's like a point in the match where like I'm about to do something to Mansoor, and like I just look directly at the camera. I'm like, wow, there's nobody here.
It was very strange to me that it took them 2 months to realize that they shouldn't be showing empty seats. You know what I mean? I don't want to risk anything for you. I know you just took a tryout, but I was so glad when they moved that hard cam. I was like, okay, this is so much easier to watch as a fan, you know?
Oh yeah, and I like on NXT how they have like the crowd or like the wrestlers that
Behind the plexiglass. Looks like a hockey game.
I feel like the noise helps. Like the silence is a big thing that like throws people off. I feel like, at least the wrestlers, and like watching it too. It's hard to watch wrestling without a crowd.
Yeah, it's weird when people do they're still doing this thing. You know what I mean? Where they're using their hands to try to like pump up nobody. It's like a very strange.
I feel like if we didn't do it, I feel like it would be weirder though, because why would we do it like normally?
That's true. You know? Yeah, I guess if you just walked out and we're like, I guess we're having a contest.
You got to be normal.
Yeah, I guess it's the new normal. But something not quite super normal is within a couple of days of this tryout you have, I saw your GCW death match, which is your only death match, right?
Yep.
Why? I'm trying to figure out why you go, all right, so I got this huge opportunity. Now I just feel like I'll just go get hit in the face with a light tube.
I've really like grown up like watching like hardcore wrestling and deathmatch wrestling, so like it was just always something in the back of my mind that I wanted to do. So I always actually kind of wonder that about wrestlers who don't exclusively do that. Is like, but they all have one. You know what I mean? Is that just something that is like a notch on the belt? It's just like, okay, I've done that. It's gonna look cool when they have to do a montage DVD of me at some point. There's gonna be a couple of good shots from that. I think I just wanted to have it on my resume and just like say I was able to do it and like have it in my portfolio, so when someone looks back at my career, they can find it and be like,
that skewer spot that you did is brutal.
Oh, like, yeah.
I just watched it last night and I looked at that and I was like, oh my, I had never seen that before. I saw the one that Jeff Cannonball did with that lawnmower part, and that was really brutal. Have you seen that? Oh, that's one of the most where they're like, and I talked to him about it and he's going, yeah, I would say he's laughing about it. I was like, I thought you were going to die when I watched it on YouTube 2 years later. And I know you like, it's like, but he's like, that skewer spot looked incredible. And then I was like, oh, they're faking this. And you let your hand go and then they move. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Was there like a worry with that?
No, that's like, I feel like that was the one thing with death matches is that you have to go into it with like as little fear as possible, because if you're scared, that's when like the most accidents are going to happen. Because like if you are like flinching and moving around as you're getting hit with all this glass and stuff, like you're going to get way more sliced up than if you just sit there and take it.
So it's just like you just got to do a heavy meditation beforehand.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, just center yourself.
Not super articulate about what I do. I just kind of like, all right, let's go do this.
All right. That seems to be working for you. We're on the subject. We should talk about some of your other GCW matches, which are kind of awesome. I know you just had, you did a 20-minute match with Jonathan Gresham. He's considered one of the best technical wrestlers on earth. Like, what were your thoughts going into that? How do you feel about it coming out of it? Do you like having that notch on your belt as well going forward?
Oh man, so I didn't find out I was working Gresham until the day of the show, and like I just got there and they're like, "Oh yeah, like so you're gonna wrestle John Gresham tonight?" I was like, "Oh, cool." But I've wrestled John Gresham before at an ROH tryout, and even though no fans saw that, like it was a really good match. But so we had like a little bit of experience like grappling. So when he got there, we just wrestled, but like probably about 6 minutes into that match, I felt like I was about to vomit, and then he just grabs me to do more. I'm like, oh my goodness. It just like, it made me realize how much on a different level he is than me. And like, it inspired me to get better. I love wrestling.
Cardio-wise.
Oh yeah. And like, he's just so creative with like his counters and stuff. Like he was surprising me with everything he did in that ring.
Okay. And obviously the other matches, so we should say you won your first heavyweight championship over here at Ctalyst Wrestling. You won the heavyweight championship from Homicide, but the feud started in GCW.
Oh yeah. And he had me in the STF, and my fiance, who was actually right behind me here.
Hello.
she threw in the towel for me, and he said some very not nice things to her. And then I attacked him during a match with Mance Warner, and then he interfered in a match I had with Jimmy Lloyd, and then we continued the feud in Ctalyst Wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, was that something that was exciting for you to do? Because that's like a very old school move, is to move something from one show to another and keep the heat going. And I was just wondering, was that something is that the first time you ever did that?
So yeah, I think so. I think that was the first feud that like transcended just like one promotion and went different places.
All right. And just something that's curious about it, because I know, I actually, just because I knew we were doing this, I went and watched, Homicide's match with your dad years ago. And I know you've had a bunch of matches, because I enjoyed your match with HC Loke over in Ctalyst when we were in Jersey that time, when you hit him with the half a table. I thought that was a great match. That was one of the first matches I ever saw you do. I was great. And I was just curious, is there something like fun about that to you, or is like, does it ever get like repetitive if promoters are sticking you with the guys that have the history, or is it nice to be able to work with seasoned hands?
No, I love working with the seasoned hands. Like it's always just like, I feel like a lot of these guys I've known since I was a little baby. So it's just like, oh, cool, I get to wrestle this guy I've known for 24 years.
You probably feel safer, right? In a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about the WWE stuff. We talked about the GCW stuff. You were in the Ring of Honor locker room as a kid, and then you worked there. Was there an extra level of pressure there for you?
Not really, because like growing up, like before every Ring of Honor show, I would roll around in the ring with whoever I could, like be it Cesaro or Chris Hero, Davey Richards. So many people I gotta like lock up with and train with that I wouldn't have otherwise got to.
All right. That's pretty awesome. What do you think? So it's like this weird thing where it's like, I went through your cage match thing, and like the amount of guys that you've either wrestled on a team with or wrestled against in the last few years, it's like when you were in Evolve and everywhere else, it's just like, it's like half of these guys who are on is like, so now when you go like what do you think about that? Is it just, you're like, why are they there? Why am I here? Do you think it's an age thing? Or do you think, I mean, now you're starting to get the shots, but now, do you feel like that's made you ready to go? Or does it kind of taken away some of the mystique of where you're like what comes next?
I feel real happy for him, but like, it makes me feel like it's possible because I know all these people it's there. So I just have to work just a little bit harder, and maybe I'll get there too.
Well, let's say, so like I said, I know you had the tryout, you had the 205 live match. Let's say you get into NXT in the next year or so. Let's just say hypothetically that happens for you, right? Who do you think would be the first couple of people that not, I'm saying like the dream match, because we all know like everybody would like to work with like the top guys in WWE, you know what I mean? But like, who do you think is the first couple of people you should work with that you could tear the house down and really like get those fans on your side?
Maybe Cameron Grimes.
Okay. Is there any particular reason?
I've known him for a long time, but I've never gotten to wrestle him. So I feel like, I don't know. I feel like we have a good match.
You just, I mean, like for like a program. So, all right. So let's say that's the first one. What's the second one? Where's the build?
I don't know. I don't really think about this kind of stuff.
Really?
Yeah. I'm more of like a just go with the flow type of dude.
You show up, get the work done, go hard,
as good as possible. Yeah.
All right. I don't know, man. I could see honestly when I saw you over at 205 Live, I was like, that is an awesome, I don't know, I don't want to pigeonhole anybody, but that seems like an awesome fit for a guy like you, because it's the highest work rate show, I feel like, in that company. Do you feel that way, or would you rather do NXT to start?
I would love to go to 205. There's a lot of guys there that I would love to work with, like Tony Nese and Drew Gulak. So I don't know, and I feel like I would be able to do cool stuff there too.
Yeah, I think you maybe have a little more freedom. It seems like that over there. Like they do a lot of character work over there, which I think is interesting. Let me ask you something about this, because like you said, you grew up watching death matches and hardcore wrestling, which is obvious. But like, do you ever you grew up with the king of old school. You did the NWA stuff. You were in Ring of Honor, which is the pure wrestling. Is there ever like because you work a very like a classic style, right? Mostly.
I'd say so.
Yeah, like and in consistent classic style. Is that like a concerted effort? Or do you ever just like think, like, maybe I should do like, kind of, some of the more flashier, intense indie stuff? Or is there a reason why you stick to what you do?
I stick to what I do because there's reasons for it. I try to like add in a little bit of flashy stuff, but like I'm not gonna be able to do 630s and double moonsaults like some of these guys can. So I'd rather just do what I can, the best I can,
Mm-hmm. So walk me through it. So you're walking into a match with a guy. You're walking into a match. Let's say the match you had with Homicide, right? Because I'm familiar with those matches. So it's like you're walking into a match like that. Now if you come off the top and you do something, you might get a pop from that crowd, but you work it a certain way because, like you said, you're comfortable with it. Like, what is there a temptation to maybe go outside of the norm?
I try to do new things like every time, but like a lot of the times my new things are like transitions and like weird ways to get into things that like people don't really think of. Like it's not just like super flashy moves and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, look, it like I said, it's working, and this is actually something that I'm curious about. I know you've worked with a couple of different groups. You worked with Unwanted with Eddie Kingston and Joe Gacy over in Evolve. And you worked with The Decade, which is Cedric Alexander, Roderick Strong, Adam Page, and now you're with the Ugly Ducklings. I'm just curious, like, do you like having a base like that, like a team base? What leads you into these different groups?
Circumstance really leads me into all these different groups. Like it's not like I really don't go out there and like a specific effort and I'm like, you know what, I really need to find some people. It's just how the way things work, and I think I try to make the most out of it. But I do like having like a group of people to work with because like it lets all of our personalities build off each other like consistently. Whereas like if you're in a singles like competition, most shows you're working with different people, so like you don't really have much to build between characters. You know what I mean?
No, I understand. So, I mean, this is an interesting thing because you had the, like I said, you were with two groups with established stars, but then you're working with the Ugly Ducklings, who are a great group of guys, but you're kind of the singles guy in that group.
Yeah, basically. I've been working with the Ugly Ducklings since like 2016.
Okay. Well, how did it come about? Like, again, you said it was just like the kind of thing where it's like circumstance and you just kind of joined up with those guys.
Yeah, basically, like we were all thrown together in like a random 6-man tag in a dark match for a promotion in North Carolina. Like I've never met Lance or Rob before that night, and we just got thrown together and we had a really good match, and all our personalities like in the ring like just meshed together really well. So the next month we were on the show and we were in a 6-way ladder match, but we worked to get like it was like every man for themselves, free for all, but we worked as a team against everyone else. Like it was just different, and like the fans really caught on to it, and then we kind of just became a tag team after that.
I mean, yeah, it's an interesting thing because it's like I said, like it's not like you're the lead guy there. Those guys were an act before, but it's like, do you kind of like, so in the other groups you were kind of, you were the younger guy there with the established guys. Do you like the idea that you guys are on more of an equal footing? You're on like a little bit more of an equal footing with those guys, and almost like you can kind of leave that group and do your own thing. Like, is that an advantage to that over, say, The Decade or Unwanted or whatever was going on, whereas like you're kind of like in a shadow as opposed to like on equal footing with those guys?
I don't know. It feels good to be like on equal footing and not just like the low man on the totem pole in the group. You know what I mean? But it's we'll just see what happens.
Okay. All right. We'll keep, we'll see what happens. I wanted to ask you, this is an interesting thing. I just found out. So I know you do some work at Premier Wrestling Federation down North Carolina, right?
Yep.
And you just produced your first show for your birthday in August, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, like, was there something where were you worried about it? Were you just like, I got this. This is going to be no problem? Or were you just like, do you kind of almost like get how stressed out some of these guys are? I see some of these guys running around promoting a show, pulling their hair out. You're a very even keeled dude. Did you just handle it? Or would you kind of like get some of the stress from promoters?
Oh no, I was stressed out running around. Same as all these other guys. If you ask any promoter, the day of the show is like the most stressful time ever if you're running a show. Plus, I had a wrestle on it. Oh, it was awful, but everything worked out pretty well, so I can't really complain about it.
Would you do it again? Is it something you'd like to do, or are you just glad you took a shot at it? Or
I would definitely love to do it again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now, when you do something like that, you put together all the matches, or were you just really like the organizer? Like, was there any help, or how'd you just jump into it? I know it had been your dad's company, but then now it's not.
I was pretty much the organizer for almost everything. Like I contacted everyone and I put together the matches and everything. And it happened at Jakob Hammermeyer, who was the owner of PWF, his house. But yeah, between the two of us, we pretty much put everything together.
No, I mean, that's great. I mean, but what made you want to produce a show just to get everything done?
Me and my dad were sitting in our backyard, and he like was looking in the backyard. He's like, "Man, it would be cool if we ran a backyard show." And I was like, "You know what? That's a pretty good idea." So I decided to just do it for my birthday.
So, as somebody, one of the only guys that's your age that never had to do a backyard show in your entire life because you're wrestling with your dad at 5 years old, you're just like, for my birthday, I'll throw it back. 20-year anniversary of wrestling, I'm gonna be a backyard wrestler. That was.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Well, you should have got the Hardy Boys out there.
I think they're a little tied up right now.
Yeah, they're tied. Yeah, it's true. I think nothing counts in a backyard. I think if you do anything in a backyard, no contracts should count.
Tell that at big companies.
Let's see here. Sorry, just got to check my notes. Oh yeah, here's an interesting thing. I'm always curious about this. When is there game tape you watch to influence your performance? Like when you're looking for inspiration, who do you go to? Like other than the obvious, the guys you came up with, your dad here, and like, is there anybody like we wouldn't expect that you're like, oh, that's the
guy? There's this Austrian dude from the 80s called Volkan. He's really good. He's like this super good submission wrestler. And
Volkan?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Volkan. VOLK space HAN. He's fantastic. He would just tie people up in like pretzel-like knots. And
okay. And where did he work?
In Europe, all over.
Okay, so like World of Sport kind of stuff?
I think so, but I'm not sure if he actually performed for World of Sport.
Okay, and this is a name that I've never heard come up before. It's just like, did you just know him because you were in the business at such a young age, or is it just like how'd you find it?
I spent a lot of time on the internet. I'm a big wrestling nerd.
All right, okay. Is there anybody? All right, so let's say again, hypothetically, if you end up somewhere else, is there anybody that you have left in the independent scene that you feel like you need to work a program with, anything like that before this is over?
I would love to work with James Drake, JD Drake and Evolve. Okay. Yeah, he's a real good guy. Need to get my last match with Homicide in.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you got to have one more. We got to have the rubber match. How do you think? Would you guys, if you think you might have a stipulation?
I feel like we got it.
Well, what would you want to do? He's getting old. You can't make him climb a ladder again. He's gonna kill me if he fucking sees this.
Just a no holds barred, anything's legal match.
All right, just straight up street fight, Brooklyn street fight.
Oh yeah,
I'm into it.
Well, not Brooklyn street fight. I don't want to put it in
home court advantage.
No.
How interesting is that guy? I said this to Nick Aldis too. For a guy his size, he's such an intimidating dude.
Oh yeah, he is. He's very intimidating.
Like, I said his name wrong at Skankfest last year, and I was like, he's gonna fucking kill me in front of all these people who like me.
I mean, the man's name's Homicide. Well, how much how hard can you get?
Dude, I thought that was like when we went to that 20th anniversary show, I had never been to like one of those crowds that just came to see Homicide.
Mm-hmm.
I literally was sitting there and there's like legit gang members just out in the crowd with like, because I grew up in Brooklyn, like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like,
yeah.
So I'm like, that guy's just flagging Latin Kings. We're in a like, and then they're cheering. I'm like, please tell me somebody told them this was fake. Like somebody, not to use that word. I know people get uptight. Like, well, please somebody tell them, somebody smarten these kids up because something's gonna happen in here. His fans are intense. He's an intense guy. I'm glad you guys are working together. The street fight, Ctalyst Wrestling title. That I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna push for that. I'm gonna tell those guys this is how we finish this off. Is there anybody else though? Is it just who else would you want? Let's say the Homicide match is over. Who's the next person you want to put the belt up with for the Ctalyst Wrestling belt?
I want to give Jordan Oliver a proper match that doesn't end in a disqualification.
I mean, that's a great Jordan Oliver's work in MLW has been great. He's great.
I've wrestled him before, but like he's definitely put on a lot of weight. He's definitely been putting the work in. I think he's been doing a lot better. So I want to see where he's at now.
You look good at the taping last week. Yeah, that's a great fit too. That's a great match. That'd be very entertaining. And I've never seen you guys wrestle. So I mean, where have you guys wrestled before?
We wrestled for this promotion in Virginia. I think it was earlier this year or late last year. I don't know. It feels like it's been forever with the quarantine and everything.
Yeah, who knows when? I don't know when anything is happening anymore. Like it's just.
Yeah, and I've wrestled him before. I wrestled him at the Homicide show in that no ring match.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. It was all the young, dumb, and broke guys. Yeah, that was great. You guys were on top of that. I just remember you guys were on top of that bus at one point. That was inside the arena.
I gave him the pile driver on top of the giant van.
Yeah, that was pretty entertaining. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know it's late night. And I was going to ask you this though. I know you became a father this year. Has that changed anything about where you want your trajectory to go? And like, was there an instantaneous change on your hustle? Because I know it's a tough hustle, independent wrestling.
Oh yeah, it definitely did. It definitely inspires me way more to succeed, and then just drives me and motivates me to keep going forward.
All right. Well, I mean, is there anything else? I know your social media is at Colby Corino on Twitter, at Colby.Corino on Instagram, and obviously the prowrestlingtees.com/Colby Corino for any merch. Is there anything else, a YouTube page, anything else you want to get out there?
No, I think you just about covered it.
All right. No doubt. Thank you so much for doing the show, Colby. I look forward to seeing you in the near future. And again, thanks.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Have a good night, man.
You too.